Hello and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Universe Podcast. Today we are talking about the final episode of The Mandalorian Season 3. I'm going to be doing a full coverage review pretty soon in the next couple of days with my normal co-host, Ashley Coffin. But the episode came out today. I want to get some coverage of it out today. And Erin McGowan was perfectly happy to jump in and say, let's talk about something, even though it's not animated, even though there's no clones in it. Erin was willing to talk about it. So we'll have all that and more right after commercial break we have no control over. Welcome back. I'm Matthew, your host. As those of you who've been listening along with as our coverage to The Bad Batch, you know Erin McGowan quite well by now. But for everyone else, they may not know who you are. I think they did get to hear it on one episode of, no, that was Bad Batch as well. So for Mandalorian listeners, they may not know you yet. So Erin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Mandalorian listeners. I'm infecting your lives too. I'm a cosplayer. I'm pretty young. So I kind of have a different perspective than Matthew. I grew up on like the Clone Wars and the prequels movies. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I cosplay Ahsoka Tano in my free time. So I'm online doing stuff with that on TikTok and Instagram. I'll plug that at the end of the show. But that's kind of where my Star Wars views come from. I'm obsessed with clones, as Matthew kind of stated earlier. All clones are daddy, and I won't take any questions.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I'm so glad you got to join us for this because I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, and it's a good way of also getting people ready to hear your voice more because we're going to have you talking about live action soon because Lady Tano, the cosplayer of Ahsoka, is definitely going to be on with me for the Ahsoka show coming out in July. And let's just kind of start here with what had been your feelings on The Mandalorian Season 3 up till this last episode? Kind of give us the background of where you were coming into this from.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I watch it every night with my family, so it's kind of like I sit there and explain it to my family.
That's fair.
But, yeah, it's been fun. I feel like I really liked learning more about the Mandalorian people. Like, in the Clone Wars, you know, you see their domed cities, but I knew nothing about this forge and this underground, like, ancient city that they had. So that was really cool to see. And to see that there are so many Mandalorians out there still. And that Bo was able to, like, rally them together is super cool. Yeah, I love to see Bo finally winning for once in life because she's just getting stomped on.
And winning because she had people around her. I have some scenes. I kind of wish she had been the one to just defeat Moff one-on-one, but I did still love the way it came together. So, yeah, I hear that. I was really enjoying the season. I know a lot of people haven't been loving it. I do think it's different. I do think this is not quite the same as what we've been getting up until now. But I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind that it's more the Mandalorians instead of the Mandalorian. And that, like, it's not... Like, I do think... I guess now, should we call him Jaren instead of Din? Because Din is maybe his family name. But, like...
True.
The artist... The Mandalorian formerly known as Din... Like, I did think he had a real arc, and yeah, so I went into this episode excited, and I was a little underwhelmed by part. Like, I don't think this is the best ending. I think the other two seasons ended with a real banger, and I don't think this was that, but I think I was perfectly happy with everything, and I like that it wrapped everything up, kind of, you know, and just brought things to a conclusion. Mm-hmm. What did you think of this last episode?
No, I agree. It wasn't like, you know, the big, like, Luke, you know, type as last season. And I kept hearing whispers, you know, like, oh, there might be, like, a guest, you know, like, someone's going to come in the last episode. Like, oh, is it Boba Fett? Is it going to be, like, Ahsoka? Like, who's it going to be? And I hadn't really gotten my hopes up or anything. I was just like, okay, like, I don't know who would make sense, but, like, maybe we're going to get an appearance from, like, a friend of the past. But
I had a small thought that it might be Thrawn, since we got the announcement of who was playing him and that he was mentioned so heavily last episode. But yeah, I think
that's true.
I did. This is one of the times where I was really happy not to be very much in the online conversations. I mean, I am clearly, but like, I didn't really get wrapped up in the who's going to be the guest. And I also didn't get wrapped up in who's going to be the spy because I didn't necessarily think there was going to be a spy. And as far as I can tell, there wasn't, right? That's the whole point. Like, there was a spy last episode. That's why it was called The Spy, and now we just didn't have that.
Wait. First off, I forgot about that. Second off, who was the spy in the last episode?
So you're even less connected to everything than I am, clearly.
I have no idea what's going on.
So because the episode was called The Spies,
yes.
I think there was a lot of speculation that someone we met last episode or had known already was going to be revealed to be a spy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people saying it was the Armorer, which I would have really not liked because the Armorer had been such a big part of Bo's story. There was other people thinking it might have been Axe Wolves, which I keep wanting to call them Axe Wolves, but it's not. It's Axe Wolves.
So weird, right?
There's some who thought it might be the other Night Owls who they met on the planet. But like it wasn't. And
yeah.
Maybe because you hadn't heard all that, this didn't happen for you, but because... Well, let me say it this way. And so I'm curious if you didn't have this experience because you hadn't heard all that discourse. I unfortunately got sucked into that too much. That whole scene where Axe is like, don't worry, everybody. I'll pilot the ship by myself. You all get off the ship. I was like, well, I guess him having a heel turn is a lot better than someone else. I don't love it, but fine. But did you have any thought that might be what about to happen? Or were you just like, nope, he's a Mandalorian. He's going to be great.
No, yeah. I was just like, oh, I guess he's going to pilot the ship. At first, I was like, I didn't think he was doing anything when he's sitting in the chair. I was like, you're just going to sit there? And then I realized he was, like, manning the guns. And I was like, okay, right. I guess you're fine then.
Yeah.
And aiming it down to destroy the base, really clutch move there. He really helped everyone out big time.
Yep.
Except he almost did blow up Din Grogu and Bo. But he didn't know that. He told him to get out.
He did his best. He did his best. I just liked seeing that everybody was still on the team and that what Bo had done to me, I feel like a lot of the season was like, yes, Bo is incredibly badass at hand-to-hand combat, and she should be. Mm-hmm. She's badass at flying a ship, but really what she can do is she's a leader. She can lead these people, and she had the whole army together, and her plan worked. And honestly, it was kind of refreshing to not have there be like 3 different reversals and betrayals. It just be like, here's the plan. The plan worked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I liked it because there was like lots of action. There were high stakes and things like that, but there wasn't like any crazy plot twist. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes, especially in finale episodes, like you get so caught up in like a plot twist or like a cliffhanger that it's like,
yeah.
Ugh. It's nice to like have something different. Like, the season ends and I feel, like, satisfied and happy. Mm-hmm. And, I see the character growth. Din and Din Grogu. Oh, so cute. I'm so excited to see that apprenticeship next season. Is there going to be a next season?
I don't think we are done watching his adventures and Grogu's adventures. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if this will be the end of The Mandalorian as a TV show. And now we're going to get, adventures out in the Rim that he's going to be a big part of, or like the Mandalorians, I feel like there's a lot of different ways we can go with it, and maybe they'll just give us Mandalorian season 4, but they definitely got to a point of like, the Mandalorians have their planet back, that's taken care of. Din and his place in the Mandalorians is fixed and solved. Him and Grogu have a house and a job and a place, and like, all the big things that were sort of questions from season 1 have been resolved.
Yeah. No. Yeah, because Moff Gideon was like the problem and the cloning and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here, I'm trying to find, because I know that they announced a Mandalorian movie. But I can't. Oh,
really? Okay.
Yeah, but I can't find the director here online. But I remember it was someone who's directed things like this. It might be Dave Filoni. I think it might be Dave Filoni who's directing a live-action movie that's supposed to, quote, tie up the Mando universe. So.
Right. And that's going to bring together the Bo-Katan-ness, the Ahsoka-ness. I think you are correct about that. Frequent guest Danielle of Written in the Star Wars, she was at Star Wars Celebration. She's going to be a guest for us early next week, and we're going to talk about a lot of that. But yeah, I think it's... like, as much as I love these characters, do you feel like there's, like, unfinished business for any of them?
I mean, no.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, they both have, like, things going forward that they're doing to, like, better themselves and further their, like, goals. But, like, yeah, there's not, like, any big bad guy or, like, emotional turmoil that seems to be going on.
I feel like especially, like, I don't think this is why they did it, but this kind of highlights it. There was a lot of people this season who I think were unhappy because they were like, this is not what we thought The Mandalorian was going to be. Yeah. And I think they make a point about that it was fairly different. I don't get why that's a problem in the same way. But I think it'd be great if they were just like, cool, well, The Mandalorian is done, and now we're going to have Din and Grogu be in another kind of a show and movie and all these things, but we're not going to be tied necessarily to the format of The Mandalorian because that format's done. And I don't want these characters to go away. I don't want Pedro Pascal to go away, but I'm okay if we get a new version, you know?
Yeah. Crazy thing. Sorry. This year I realized Pedro Pascal has the same birthday as me, and I've never felt happier. The joy that bloomed in my heart.
That's a pretty awesome connection.
Yeah. I was like my Aries king. Everything makes sense. I know why I'm in love with you now.
I think a lot of people who aren't Aries are deeply in love with him as well. Myself,
that's
very
true.
Much included. He has captured this Virgo heart. Yes, it is love. It is not any other L words. That is purely, yes, exactly. But yeah, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
What did you think of Bo? Like Bo kind of losing the fight to him and then needing the others to come in and rescue her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I was disappointed because I wanted her to, like, go crazy and, like, get him, you know? But at the same time, like, it makes sense because Moff Gideon pimped out his suit. Like,
yeah,
you could hear it, like, whirring as he moved, you know? Like, it was fully electronic and robotic. Like, it had extra strength. So,
yeah,
you know, Din couldn't beat him. It makes sense that Bo couldn't beat him, you know? Whether or not who's the stronger warrior, like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. But, like, it makes sense that neither of them could get him because he just went crazy on his suit.
Yeah, he was it was Mecha Gideon, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that perspective. I think watching it, I was like, really? You couldn't just let Bo just straight up win? Or even have her not, like, about to, like, be defeated by him when she gets rescued by everybody? But I did like her line about, like, that's the thing, is we work in teams, you know, and it wasn't just her. Particularly because, like, I don't know, when he said, like, I'll go take care of it myself, my first thought was like, dude, you're supposed to be the smart one, not the prideful idiot like Vader. But I guess he is kind of extra himself, so maybe that is what he would do. Yeah. But yeah, it was so I kind of wish that we hadn't had that, but it was still great to see her win for sure and become, you know, head of Mandalore. Once again, with the not name dropping, like, I'm disappointed. I think these are some of the things I was disappointed by. I'm disappointed we got to the end of this season of her getting back to Mandalore without ever mentioning the name Satine.
Yeah. Like, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. It
kind of, it sucks. It's like, I just feel like for people who have seen the Clone Wars, understanding who Satine was and what happened with her is such an important part of Bo's story and what makes her who she is. I just, like, I agree. It wouldn't have been too hard to work in a little conversation about, like, oh, yeah, like, my sister used to lead and I look up to her or something like that, you know?
Yeah, or, like, I mean, talking about how her sister made choices that she disagreed with and, like,
true.
The conflict between her and her sister is a big part of why the Mandalorians were all so divided. So her uniting Mandalorians again, like, how is that not about her sister's legacy in some way? There's also the fact that, like, this is now the second time in, like, 10 years that she has recaptured Mandalore with the help of a Force user. So she could have been like, hey, Grogu, you saved our lives. Kind of like Ahsoka did 10 years. I mean, that one didn't feel as glaringly not there, but also because they're trying to promote the Ahsoka show, it felt a little weird to be like, how have we not talked at all about how you literally did the same thing with a Force user 10 years ago?
Yeah. Just in the Dome Cities.
Yeah. I'll be curious talking with Ashley about that because, like I said, Ashley, the person who's normally my host, she hasn't seen all the Clone Wars stuff, and it's been... I've been really glad that she has clearly enjoyed the whole show without having seen that. So they've been bringing in enough references to not alienate her, and I hope some of the other listeners who just haven't seen those shows. But I think they could have gone a little further.
Yeah. It would have been kind of nice.
Yeah. It's late, and I want to keep this kind of a quick response thing, so that's kind of all I got. What would you want to bring up or talk about?
Well, first off, just like kind of what you said about like Bo's quote about Mandalorians. Like that whole exchange was just so cool. He said like, Moff Gideon said something like, oh, without their toys or without their like trinkets, Mandalorians are weak. Mm-hmm. And then the way she looked up at him and said, Mandalorians are stronger together. And then did pa 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 from the back. That was cool. A couple other cool shots were, the ray shield scene, bro. That was sick. Yeah. That was the validation, or like I don't know, something. The way it reminds me of the Qui-Gon Obi-Wan scene, like it just validated me. It's like, finally, someone like doing a ray shield fight, and they're just killing it. Like they didn't have to watch their master die first. Like
it was so good, and it was beautiful for Din, but also like R5. Like someone online on Twitter said that like they should make like kindergarten books about the brave little R5 droid who was so scared but found his bravery and did his thing, and then when some like little mouse droid tried to narc on him, he like took care of the mouse droid. Yeah, like it was, that scene was great. The combat was great, and the scene in Obi-Wan, it felt like, in Phantom Menace, it was a great scene, but it felt a little like, why is this here? Whereas in this scene, it felt purposeful, and he's very intensely, strategically using it, felt very, much. I love that scene in Phantom Menace, but this just felt like, let's do that, but make it make sense.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. And yeah, I have in my notes too, go R5, go. While I was watching that, I was like, yes, 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 as he was descending down. So proud of our little man. Well,
especially because I told Ashley this, but do you know the story of R5 that comes from the book From a Certain Point of View?
No.
So there's a series of books now called From a Certain Point of View that are like little short stories, and there's one for like every movie, like a bunch of the movies that are coming out in order. I think there's also ones for some of the shows. But they're basically little, like, very short stories, like 5 to 10 pages, that are told from the perspective of random people. So there's, like, a story from just some dude at the Cantina bar who's like, wow, like, the Space Wizard showed up. That was weird. And, like, a Jawa has a whole story about, like, what he was up to. But one of the stories is about R6. And it's about how he was totally ready to, like, he'd been like with the Jawas for a while. It was terrible. He was ready to be adopted. And then he met this little blue droid, an astromech, who was like, dude, I have a mission to save the galaxy. I need your help. And the blue droid is like, I think we're going to go see these people called like, I need to find a way to get to Obi-Wan. You've got to help me. And so the idea is that when the Skywalkers buy R6, but then R6 blows up, and so they have to buy R2 instead. Yeah. R6 did that intentionally. Yeah. Because R2 had convinced him, like, I hate to do this to you, brother, but, like, I need to be the one they buy. Yeah. Come through you, like, R5. Yeah. So, like, sorry, I call him R6. But, yeah, like, so that R5, like, basically, like, took one for the team so that R2 could go off and be the hero. And I just, like, it's a silly story, but I thought it was really beautiful and like
so sweet,
right? And so watching him get his hero's moment now, 30 years after all that, was just like, yay!
Go King, go!
Right?
That's so sweet. Yeah, the way he, like you said, was so ready to be adopted, but still understood the urgency. What a king!
Yeah, right. Great moment for him.
Absolutely.
What else is on your list? Any last things?
Yes, last thing. The scene where all the drop ships come out of the capital ship and they're diving down into the clouds. And then they all disappear into the clouds. And then the TIE bombers come shooting out right after them. That was just so cool.
It definitely was. There's a little part of me that's like, no one has radar of any kind.
No,
None
they
of these
should
TIE
hit each
ships.
other.
No, well, not even that, but also it's like these TIE ships can't be like, oh, hey, maybe we should go back down behind the clouds because all those drop ships that were there aren't there anymore. But
I actually have something to say about that I put together as you were saying that. Do you think maybe their radar wouldn't be functioning because of the atmospheric storms? Because, they can't calm between space and the planet. So maybe it's like when you're inside that storm too. It might have showed it when Din first got to the planet earlier in the season.
Okay. That is certainly possible. I feel I don't remember. To what ability can ships detect other ships is one of those things that has been left so up in the... It's kind of like how long does it take to go in hyperspace from one part of the galaxy to another. It is exactly what the plot needs in that moment with no rhyme or reason or consistency.
It's like if we need a cool background for these Jedi to have a conversation, they're in hyperspace for like 30 minutes, several hours. But if these clones are in trouble on this Rishi moon, our capital ship will be there in about 15 seconds.
The one that to me really kind of broke my brain, I love Rogue One so much, but is the like, oh yeah, we're going to send these X-Wings from Yavin 4 to whatever that planet that is that has the Imperial base that's like a different part of the galaxy. No, it's not Scarif. It's the one where Galen gets killed.
I remember now.
And like the X-Wings show up like 10 minutes later. Yeah. It's like, okay, whatever.
They are there.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was all good. Oh, we haven't talked about the Darth... What do you think about the Darksaber getting destroyed?
I was really sad to see that. Like, I don't care about, the Darksaber, like the leader of Mandalore must wield the Darksaber. I don't give a crap about that. But like, I just... The story of, like, the original Vizsla, who was the only Mandalorian Jedi, and so he created a saber that was, like, more accurate to his people, and, like, is reminiscent of kind of a vibroblade. Like, I don't know. I've just always really liked that story. Like, I'm really into the books about clones, specifically the ones where the clones really delve into their Mandalorian history. And they're not canon books, but...
Right.
They don't talk about the Darksaber, but they talk about him. I can't remember his first name, but the original Vizsla.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally hear you. And I think I get what they were going for because I think one of the whole parts of this journey was, last episode of last season, she thought she needed the Darksaber to be the leader. And that was where we were the first episode of this season as well. And both she and Din went on this great journey of, instead of him being like, here, have the saber, I don't care, it became, you're already a leader and I'm giving you the saber to assert the fact that you're a leader. And, excuse me. And so I like she doesn't need the saber to be a leader, and she could, they could defeat him without the saber eventually. But yeah, it was also like, but you don't have to destroy it. Like, put it in a museum until someone else needs it. Or like, let Grogu train with it. Yes, actually, wait a minute. Like, we have another Mandalorian who's also a Force user.
Oh, such a missed opportunity.
Look, if they can repair IG-11, which Taika's back, thank God. I needed him back. Just his voice is... But if maybe they can repair it. Maybe that's going to be the point. Maybe the little Enzordians or whatever the hell their name is, like they're going to fix it because Enzellans, thank you. Doesn't Grogu need a lightsaber?
I think so.
But he's a Mandalorian. He should have the Darksaber. So
he should, but also there's a part of like growing into a Jedi. Well, but he's not a Jedi.
Right?
But I feel like creating your own lightsaber can be a very special thing to Force users.
So maybe he rebuilds it. Maybe he finds his own crystal. Yeah. But he does rebuild a version. Because he's a Mandalorian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool.
I did sort of like... He's still basically a toddler in terms of human development. And it feels like most people become Mandalorians when they're about 13. He's the equivalent of like... He's not 2 anymore. He's the equivalent of like 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. So I was still a little like... But...
Yeah. Speaking of Grogu being a toddler,
Uh-huh.
Did you notice his little feet this episode?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically at the end where when they go to, I think it's Navarro. Or maybe it's when they're entering that cantina, actually, to talk to Carson. Forgot his last name, but...
Kiva.
Thank you. No, his little toes were just like, do. Like, everyone go look up online Grogu's feet in the season 3 finale and just watch his little legs go like, boo, 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 boo. It's so funny.
So I have to watch that. I was driving all day today, and literally I was like, every time I stopped to get gas, I would just like watch it. And then I would like be watching while I walked in and bought soda or used the restroom or whatever. So I watched it like 5-10 minutes at a time on my phone over this 12-hour drive. So like I missed little details like that.
Uh-huh.
I will say the scene of him like bouncing around up in like the rafters. I love Grogu. I think the animation they do with him is amazing. To me, it just looked like Kermit in the Muppet movie, like when he's getting shot and he's dancing his feet. It just was like, it took me a little out of it. I was like, come on.
No,
but
it's so
maybe
funny.
if I'd seen more detail, I don't know, I'll appreciate it more.
I'll send you a video with the Grogu toes so you can see it.
I feel like there's no way they're going to make him go full Mandalorian while this show is happening, because there is no way in the world you're going to cover up that ridiculously expressive and adorable a face.
Yeah.
As cute as a Mandalorian helmet with the ears would be, like, and I kind of want to see that. I don't think they're going to make him take the oath and put the mask on.
Yeah. Bro, I hope not. That would be sad. I didn't even think about that.
But him being adopted by Din, that was by Jaren now, I guess, because the Din's the family name.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little confused of, because like Vizsla is a family name and like Kryze is a family name. But, you know, different traditions, different things, you know, that's fine. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes, though. But it would be fun to learn more about his history.
Mm-hmm. I did look up the original Mandalorian. It's Tar Vizsla, I think. Tarre.
Tar Vizsla, yeah, that sounds right. I will also say, two things I'll say. One, I'll try to find it in the show notes for this. If not, I'll put it up soon. There's a couple of different TikTokers who basically do lessons in Mandoa, the Mandalorian language, a lot of which comes from the books you're talking about. But the other thing is, to give a shout out to a friend of mine, my friend Jonah has a podcast called The Archives Are Incomplete. And it's where he does a book-by-book review of the extended universe, the original canon. And that includes the books that Erin is talking about are there's some others as well, but the primary ones are called the Republic Commando books. And they're just really great explorations of the Clone Wars through the eyes of the clones, and the eyes of their Mandalorian trainers. And so we really get a lot about Mandalorian culture, and we go to Mandalore, and it's not quite the same as this. It's not quite the same canon, but it's a really beautiful story. And I recommend reading the books themselves, but if you find them a bit dry, because I kind of did, Jonah's I know, I'm a heretic.
Matthew!
But I did not have 6-year-old, ooh, clone butts are pretty, reaction that you have discussed on air multiple times.
How dare you use that against me?
You kind of leave it there, you know? Look, you make me feel like I should join AARP. I gotta have some kind of ammunition here.
That's so funny.
I should call you the youngling. That should be the thing from now on. No, you're the foundling. You're the foundling of this podcast. That's fair.
I accept that.
Yeah. But yeah, so those books, read the books if you can, but if you can't, or if you love the books, want to hear more about them, listen to Jonah's podcast. The Archives Are Incomplete. Each episode's a specific book, so you can find them, and he really goes deep on he does a plot summary, so if you haven't read it, you're fine, but then really goes deep on the analysis. Yeah.
I do. That's really exciting to hear that there's people out there, like, practicing and learning, like, Mandoa, because I, like, was obsessed with the language. I still actually, in my notes app, have a, like, list of words and phrases in Mandoa. Oh, nice. And I always, on my phone, in my Safari, is pulled up the Mandoa dictionary, just in case I'm, like, reading a Star Wars book, and I'm like, what does that phrase mean again?
That's fantastic. I really love that.
Yeah. When I was younger, and I was living in a Christian conservative family, I would I learned all the swear words, and I would just use those. All the Mando swear words.
That way the family couldn't know what you were talking about. They couldn't get upset at you.
Exactly.
That is, and I say this with an awful lot of pride, and like this is a compliment, the geekiest thing I have heard in a long, long time. I salute you.
Thank you.
I will just close by saying the last thing I want to mention. I'm not saying that the show is making this canon. They certainly could. And I think they were hinting a little bit in some ways, but they always just like to hint all sorts of things. But the amount of sapphic fanfics that were created by that moment of Bo and the armorer flying together in formation and giving each other a look, like that has been screenshot by so many sapphics, and I love it so much, and I'm so here for it. And I think if it may always be headcanon, and if people want to headcanon that, please do so, because I ship it. I can see those two.
Yeah. Stan a leader partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, some crossing of the different lines. And, you know, I love that at the end you saw, like, when all the Mandalorians came together to, like, take their oath to her and to each other, some were wearing the helmets and some weren't. And it was just okay. You know?
Yeah. That was really beautiful to see. I noticed that, too.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me of when I was in Egypt, and there were some women who were wearing like full hijab, and others who had like just some of their hair covered, and others who didn't have it at all. And like that was just, everyone was okay. And to me, that's what pluralism should be, is like everyone gets to observe the way they want to observe. So
yeah.
All right, well, Erin, thank you so much for dropping in last minute. I really appreciate this, and it's gonna be fun getting to put this out. It has gone longer than I expected because we're both super talkative. Mm-hmm. But tell us just about where they can find you.
Yeah, so if you're not annoyed by my voice and want to hear me talk more, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Lady Tano Creates. Tano is Tano, as in Ahsoka. I chose that name because that's what Maul calls her in the 7th season, and I thought it was equal parts classy and disrespectful, because he's acknowledging that she's no longer a Jedi. Anyways, yeah, on my Instagram, I do a lot of well, I share a lot of memes for sure, but I feel like I share more like photos of cons I'm going to, but I do post like big progress things, and I tend to post those sooner than I do on TikTok, because on TikTok I record every step of my process, and so I kind of take my time uploading those because I don't want to dump them on people.
But I will say it's awesome that you do those, because like, I really love getting to see the process. It is such a mystery to me. And so watching, like, I think it'd be one thing to watch someone who's been doing this for 10 years and knows it, but watching you literally learn, and like, you have videos where like, oh, this is really, oh wait, this didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do something else. And it's, I hate seeing you do that, but I love watching it because I get to see the whole process. So.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I'm glad that people enjoy it, you know, and like having, I mean, I don't have a ton of followers or anything, but having some people along who like comment and stuff just like helps motivate me. And, you know, as someone with ADHD, it's very easy to get distracted and leave a hobby behind, but I find social media motivating. So if you want to help give me motivation for my Ahsoka cosplay, hop over there. I'm also very slowly but surely working on an original character of my own. So stay tuned on that. People have gotten help vote on like different color, like for things and like outfit choices, and it's been a lot of fun. Check all that out. Lady Tano Creates. The link will be in the show notes, and of course, let us know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on The Mandalorian. We're going to do more coverage with Ashley. That'll be coming out soon. But let us know. You can email us. You can Twitter us. All the things. It's all in the show notes, or you can just go to theethicalpanda.com. Find all the ways to support us. So on behalf of myself, Erin, thank you all so much. We have spoken. This is the way.